All right, forget the Republican establishment. Is Donald Trump's real problem with the media establishment? Hi, everyone. Glad to have you. I'm Neil Cavuto. And now that he is the presumptive GOP nominee, all of a sudden, these are the Trump stories we start seeing. The Washington Post's front page expose on his Playboy past. Then the New York Daily News, which is my favorite of the week, declaring him less popular than lice. And the lice, we understood, were upset. Anyway, Charles is asking, where's the same over-the-top type of stories on Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders? I'm not saying that they're not out there, but there are not as many of them out there. Also joining us, Charlie Gasparino, Adam Lashinsky, and look who's here, Kennedy. Yay. Ben Stein is off this week. I think he's doing a Denny's opening. Dagen McDowell doing her usual great job hosting Bulls and Bears. Happy to have all here. Charles Payne, to you first. I don't mind when you look into these personal details. Okay, if you're going to hire a 25-person team at the Washington Post to dig into Donald Trump, have at it. I just didn't remember hearing the same zeal with Senator Barack Obama or seeing it to quite the same enthusiasm with Hillary Clinton. That doesn't mean I'm not seeing it, just not to the same degree.
Well, to a large degree, the mainstream media hasn't changed its spots. I mean, they were over the top excited in 2008, particularly for President Obama, or then candidate Obama. And as far as the Washington Post hiring 20 people to investigate Donald Trump, what I found more interesting is the fact that their decision not to do the same with Hillary Clinton, that we already know who she is, and almost every single day, another bombshell.
We just discovered, right, Kenny, this week we just discovered through the Clinton Initiative, a lot of the money from key donors, key pals.
That's absolutely right. I mean, what do we think the Clinton Initiative was for? This is a major pay-for-play service. It's like pay-per-view in the 80s when boxing was exciting and so illegitimate.
But, Adam, I'm looking at that, and I know you look at this and say, well, Donald Trump is the new candidate. We don't know a lot about him. All true, all fair, all right. But when it's Jeff Bezos who owns the Washington Post, the same guy said he wanted to put Donald Trump in space, and these are the same guys who might criticize Rupert Murdoch, who owns a media empire, for saying things. I'm thinking, well, where's the fairness in that? What say you?
Well, I think it's totally fair to put all sorts of resources against the man who's going to be the nominee of one of the major parties. And I think the point that we made earlier is
more so than anyone else.
Because, yes, because he's never held public office. And, by the way, the latest news on Hillary Clinton came out because the mainstream media reported it and has been reporting extremely aggressively on her. But the fact is, she was elected to the Senate.
And who reported it in the mainstream media?
I don't know. I thought it was in the New York Times, Neil, but maybe I'm wrong about that.
We'll have a quiz after the show. All right. I'm looking at this, Charlie Gasparino, and I'm saying, have at it. If you want to go delve into the personalized account, sometimes that can be very instructive. A lot of people who don't know a lot about a person, they do read a lot into what they're personally like. And I'm looking at this, and I'm saying, Donald Trump, you kept amazing company. But I'm looking at this, I'm wondering, where's the fair part of this? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, as someone who used to delve into people's private lives myself, that was part of my job back in the day. I will say this. Listen, I don't think we can sit here and say that there hasn't been the full-on treatment on the Clintons. I mean, the reason why we know about the Clinton Foundation is because of some very good reporting in the New York Times. Yes, the Wall Street Journal has done a story recently about more of the sleazy stuff. The New York Post. Yeah, but the New York Times does it too. I mean, they've been all over this Clinton stuff. What I'm saying is this. And here's where it gets really. The New York Post did what? What story did the New York? I do columns for the New York Post.
Can I interrupt Charlie? Just not really for any reason, but just because I haven't been able to interrupt Charlie.
My point is here. Can I make my point here?
Yes, go ahead.
And here's my point. The Clintons have gotten the full-on treatment. Obama really hasn't, and I think that's where you really have an issue here of media bias. President Obama, hung around with a guy named Tony Resco with a very bad record, hung around with Reverend Wright, who was insane, and we never saw that every day.
That was the comparison I was trying to make. If you're making it, here's a new entity, someone who just burst on the public stage, you don't know much about him, and you could argue that with Donald Trump, at least in this sphere, while people think they know him running for president. Yeah, I could see that. What I'm wondering, Charles Payne, is that is this really just about making money, too? We don't know that Donald Trump rates a story like that. It was no accident the Washington Post put on the front page. sells newspapers. So you both bite and shake the hand that feeds you.
I think this is why they call it earned media, right? You know, running with Trump in the media these days doesn't hurt. But back to the central topic. This is something that's been going on for a long time. Ronald Reagan went through the ringer with the mainstream media, whether it was his age, whether it was his Hollywood background, you know, falling asleep and pushing a nuclear bomb. But it's gotten a little bit more vicious with Donald Trump. You know, the New York Daily News with covers of Ku Klux Klansmen, things like that.
Incredible.
That's not betting a candidate. That's trying to bury a candidate. And those are two different journalistic things.
No, but I think, you're okay.
Yeah, absolutely,
no.
absolutely.
Chuckles, my turn, baby, my turn. All right, time to shine for the kid right here.
I want my MTV.
Yes,
I want
Charlie.
my MTV.
It wasn't funny 2 weeks ago. It's not funny now, honey. Pipe
I couldn't
down,
help
and why don't you
myself.
go
I'm
to
sorry.
Hooters there in Vegas? Yeah, I'll give you a handful of dirty ones.
Well, look at the time here. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I bumped into Mark
I was
Goodman
going to
last
say,
night
Neil, you
at
make the best
Stores.
point, which is you can't have it both ways. You can't be so upset with establishment politicians and beg for someone from the private sector with a big personality to come in and run the party and run the country, and then complain that his past sensibilities violate your Victorian secrets.
Do you? This is going to sound like a sexist question, though. But he's most problematic right now with women. That's his big problem. And these stories, when they come out, they really tick women off.
Yeah. Do they?
Well, I'm asking you,
No, I guess.
do you, when you hear the comments and the allegations,
I think
do you
none
say,
of
all
it
right?
is surprising. And for Bob Woodward to say that Donald Trump hasn't been vetted, he's been a public personality for decades. We've known a lot about his personal escapades, and he's also documented a lot of that, either in interviews or in books that he's written. So a lot of that isn't a surprise. And no, does it shock and outrage me? No, I'm more shocked at the idea that he's going to expand the power of the federal government to squash my liberty.
Neil, he hasn't been. I don't think he's been fully vetted. I mean, I'll be honest with you. From the financial side, we don't.
Well, you're right about that. On the financial side, you're right about that. And that is fair game. I think you go up to that. It's sort of like what everyone's doing with Carly Fiorina, reassessing her role at Hewlett Packard. Did she help? Did she hurt? Was she the internet boom, the bus queen, whatever? All that I think is fair game. Go where you know who your background is. Adam Lashinsky, though, what I'd ask you is, could this risk overkill, or is this, the point I raised with Charles Payne, really about selling newspapers, getting ratings? Because almost any story on Donald Trump, people stop in their tracks to read it, see it, hear it, whatever.
I just don't think that overkill is the media's problem. I mean, we have some good examples here. We have the lice, you know, worse than lice in a tabloid, and we have the delving into his past.
Do you think that's overkill?
Post.
Do you think the lice story is overkill? Do you think the fact that lice are now suing is overkill?
I think that's what tabloid newspapers do. They put a picture of lice against the candidate on the front page. And Fortune magazine does a cover story scrutinizing his business career.
I've never seen you put lice and Donald Trump on the front of your fine magazine.
Not yet. Clickbait.
Not yet. That's right. Although,
but you're saying you're open to it. You're going to see how this goes. You might be open to it.
That's right.
But you know what I can see? I think Ken, I'll raise it to you. I think this is the way this race is shaping up.
Yeah.
It's just going to be nasty, dirty, dress and tarp, because this is the way it's going to go.
But it's interesting because anyone who's tried to fight Donald Trump this way, they have not emerged victorious.
Right.
But Donald Trump has not done himself any favors, because he is the one who has attacked the media over and over and over again and called them scum.
Well, they say the best defense is a good offense, right, Gasparino? I mean, he's very good.
Yeah, listen, this guy knows how to use. Listen, we're talking about how much bad stuff is on him. Let's be clear. Donald Trump, and we were first to report this at Fox Business, generated billions of dollars in free media by his opening his mouth and saying some really sometimes stupid things, but it kept the media cycle going. So this guy
we're doing a segment, leading the show with him right this very minute.
Someone said all media is good media.
That's right. You're right about that. We're talking about him, right?
You're exactly right.
It's not quite a free ad, but I will say this, Neil. The financial stuff is what's going to nail him, because that stuff is still obscure, and the fact that he's not releasing his taxes is going to do. That's going to cause
that might be another more substantive issue. Get into this other stuff. I don't know. It's all part of the same package, and many people, in retrospect, probably would have wished they got more of the personal details on JFK. But back then,
it was a different time.
It was a different time.
It really was.
Yeah.
I remember it so well.
You were baking and all that stuff. All right.